people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the mother relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. On the heels of a recent points decision win over Lucy Wildheart, a late replacement, Michaela Mayer says, I don't see myself staying at lightweight very long, but I have the opportunity right now at 135, and I am excited about that.
Michaela Mayer is the mandatory challenger to Katie Taylor's WBC title.
The 5'9" frame has always had the look that it needed additional poundage.
Yeah.
The extra 5 pounds have transformed her look, and the fighter herself is pleased with how she looked and felt in her last fight at lightweight. I felt good at the new weight. I definitely look bigger. I watched it back. I look big, especially around my arms and shoulders. I felt my shots were a lot harder and not just touching or point scoring. I am not a one-punch knockout artist, and I probably never will be. I overwhelm my opponents. I like that about myself. I felt good. It was a big weight cut, though, and I don't see myself staying at lightweight for very long. But I have the opportunity right now at 135, and I am excited about that.
It's Michaela Mayer's intention to get Katie Taylor in the ring beyond the upcoming Chantel Cameron fight and what could be the Amanda Serrano fight later on this year.
It's definitely what Michaela's intentions are, though whether or not that will actually result in a fight between her and Katie at some point,
That depends.
depends on many factors. The second fight at her new weight will be in the summer back in her native land, possibly on a female doubleheader featuring her top-ranked stablemate, Sinicia Estriadia. I want my next fight to be in the summer because I want to have 3 fights this year. I want to stay busy, so it's possible I could have 2 fights before I am mandatory for the winner of Katie versus Chantel and Amanda.
Katie and Chantel's fight is at 140 pounds. Michaela's not the mandatory for any of those belts, but she is the mandatory at 135.
By way of the WBC she is. That puts more risk on the line, but I want to get paid. Stay busy and fight.
If Katie loses to Chantel,
What does she do? Does she run it back with Chantel Cameron at 140 pounds, or does she return to 135? Move forward with an Amanda Serrano fight.
Amanda Serrano very recently announced that she's set to return to action in August on the undercard of the Paul versus Diaz fight.
She's going to be having a rematch with Heather Hardy at 126 pounds.
Because of when the fight is taking place, that it's taking place in August.
You've got the Taylor versus Cameron fight later on this month.
Yeah.
Then you have Serrano versus Hardy 2 in August.
Not sure.
But I think it was Team Taylor's intention, should they beat Chantel Cameron at 140 pounds, to do the rematch with Amanda sometime around September. But if Amanda's fighting in August,
That's going to be a problem.
it could be. If they can't make those dates work, that leaves the door open for someone else to stand in Amanda's place. Perhaps Michaela Mayer, who is the mandatory challenger for one of Katie Taylor's belts. A fight between Katie and Michaela in Ireland.
At Croke Park.
It's possible, though it's just as possible that Chantel upsets the apple cart for Katie and Katie decides to run it back with her. Anything's possible.
Anything.
It's possible that Katie loses. It's possible that Katie wins, though it's just as possible that even if she wins, depending on when Michaela Mayer's next fight is, because Michaela says she wants to fight during the summer months.
Depending on when her next fight is, that may affect her availability moving forward for a potential Taylor showdown. So it's all very immaterial right now.
It's hard to get a fix on how this cookie is going to crumble. One of the more interesting aspects of Michaela's recent comments is that she doesn't plan on staying at lightweight very long.
So what are we talking about? A year? What remains of this year?
Is Michaela Mayer's current lightweight campaign contingent upon how soon she can get Katie in the ring?
Is that what it hinges on?
If Katie Taylor beats Chantel Cameron and procures all the alphabet titles at 140 pounds, depending on what she does, those titles could become vacant. You know, what if she beats Chantel but decides she doesn't want to stay at 140 pounds? She moves back down to lightweight.
Vacates all those belts and hits the reset button on super lightweight.
That would make all those alphabet titles available for someone like Michaela Mayer to fight for. if she so decides to. That's if Katie wins and vacates. If she doesn't win, Chantel stays champion.
I don't think Michaela Mayer's all that interested in boxing Chantel Cameron.
Maybe if Chantel wins, maybe if Chantel beats Katie, then a fight with Chantel will make sense to Michaela.
Maybe.
Maybe Michaela decides that she doesn't want to wait at 135 pounds and she's not too interested in anything at 140 or 147. Maybe she goes up to junior middleweight.
Why would she go up there?
Natasha Jonas is up there. Natasha Jonas, that division's unified Ring Magazine and lineal champion at junior middleweight. And Natasha Jonas, she needs a dance partner, preferably a high-profile one.
She may fight in a takeover fight this summer, but later on in the year, she might want to cap it off with something big.
A fight between Natasha and Michaela is a distinct possibility because Michaela Mayer, who's promoted by Top Rank, it just so happens their UK broadcast partner is Sky Sports, where Natasha Jonas fights.
Natasha's got 3 belts.
3 alphabet titles, the Ring Magazine title, and lineal status. The appeal of fighting Natasha is obvious. Moreover, if Michaela Mayer can become a champion at junior middleweight like Natasha Jonas,
that may rekindle the rivalry between Michaela and Terry Harper, the only other champion at that weight.
I haven't soon forgotten that before it became about the rivalry between Michaela and Alicia Baumgartner, before that, it was about Michaela and Terry. That was the transatlantic grudge match.
If Michaela Mayer can finagle a situation to where she gets Natasha Jonas in the ring and beats her, that rekindles that flame, the one between Michaela and Terry.
I mean, she could decide to stay at lightweight, biding her time and acclimating to the weight, but if a bigger opportunity opens up, like a Jonas fight, which could lead to a Harper fight,
I think Michaela would take it.
it's just something to think about while Michaela Mayer says in plain English, she don't plan on staying at lightweight too long. In men's lightweight news, Javonte Davis was today sentenced to approximately 90 days of house arrest and 3 years probation for what was a 2020 hit and run. There's a feeling in many circles that the punishment doesn't really fit the crime,
No.
that they let him off easy, and perhaps they did.
He could have killed somebody.
But I'm no Perry Mason. How exactly Javonte Davis's team worked it out to where he only gets hit with 90 days house arrest and 3 years probation, your guess is as good as mine. But what that means, what that really means, is that if anything happens between now, next 3 years,
Javonte Davis and his knack for getting in trouble.
could be in big trouble. So he's got to be on his best behavior moving forward, even if this does seem like a slap on the proverbial wrist.
90 days house arrest, 3 years probation, and 200 hours of community service.
Accenting that he will be free to resume his boxing career by year's end. It'll be like nothing happened. He wouldn't have skipped a beat, wouldn't have lost any time, because he wasn't about to do another fight anyway.
Not straight away, he just fought.
Many were keeping a close eye on this situation. The massive commercial success of the Ryan Garcia fight. Some feeling that Javonte Davis is now the face of boxing.
Based on that fight,
He's one of several PBC fighters that were facing legal woes. Andy Ruiz has a sexual misconduct case.
he's got that going on.
Deontay Wilder was recently arrested earlier this week. Could be facing a gun charge. Could be facing a felony.
And of course, Javonte Davis.
Encompassing Al Heyman's class of fuck-ups.
Slackers and underachievers.
Seemed like a recent wave of PBC fighters experiencing legal issues. They can at least breathe a sigh of relief when it comes to this one.
They let him off easy.
One pertinent question moving forward is whether or not Javonte Davis will decide to return to Mayweather Promotions.
They didn't promote the Hector Luis Garcia fight. In many ways, they didn't promote the Ryan Garcia fight either.
Not necessarily. It's understood that Leonard Ellerbe was there and Floyd Mayweather was in attendance for the fight, the Ryan Garcia fight, though he was absent for the Hector Garcia fight.
Yeah, he wasn't there for that one.
It's not official that Javonte Davis has returned to the fray, returned to Mayweather Promotions in spite of all hands being on deck for this last fight, this Ryan Garcia fight, that Floyd was there and Leonard was there.
And it was a big fight. It turned out to be a very big fight commercially.
But it's unclear what exactly Leonard Ellerbe's role was in all of this, and moving forward, will he be involved to some degree in Javonte Davis's next fight?
Questions that need answers. It seems we won't be seeing Javonte Davis for some months, and he won't return to action until either the third or the fourth quarter of this year.
Presumably against the winner of Romero versus Barroso up there at 140 pounds, or maybe he has a rematch with Isaac Cruz. That's what his longtime trainer Calvin Ford seems to have his heart set on.
Don't expect he's going to fight Shakur. Don't expect he's going to fight the winner of Haney versus Lomachenko.
All he's got to do is stock up on snacks, make sure his Netflix and Amazon Prime subscriptions are intact, take in a movie, and
Sit back.
sit out for the next few months. Does it send the wrong message that Javonte Davis could have seriously hurt the passengers in that vehicle that he slammed into? Does it send the wrong message that he's being let off with a slap on the wrist?
Of course it does.
But those who support Javonte Davis aren't concerned with his legal issues and
He
his
had 2 domestic abuse cases before this.
his fans aren't hung up on that kind of stuff. So even if it does send the wrong message,
And it does.
even if the punishment doesn't really fit the crime, it's all in keeping with what you'd expect from Javonte Davis.
No less than I expect.
This could have been a serious blow to the momentum that he has amassed as a result of the commercial success the Ryan Garcia fight.
Just imagine if they would have sentenced him to a year or 2 years.
Surely his career and its progress would have lost some traction as a result of that.
It would have.
But this is nothing, and so long as he doesn't get himself in any more trouble for the next 3 years, he should do all right. Upstairs at Super Lightweight, reigning WBO Ring Magazine and lineal champion Tosh Jailer says he vows to retire Teofimo Lopez.
Retire him. The kid's only 25.
It is true that Teofimo Lopez is still a very young fighter, very much a young fighter, but he's an unstable fighter. Can he psychologically handle another loss?
Taylor is betting that he can make another dent into Lopez's confidence, going so far as to say he will retire the 25-year-old.
That loss that he got from Camboso certainly dented his confidence and his ego, Taylor told Brian Custer on the Last Stand podcast. His ego has taken a massive hit. You can see he's a bit mentally fragile anyway. Me, with this fight, I plan on retiring this guy. I plan on giving him that much of a beating that he doesn't think that he's that guy anymore. He's already got them doubts. I'm gonna cement them and retire him.
You know, Teofimo Lopez very recently had a rant that made some headlines. That he said this is his final fight on Top Rank and ESPN, and they can keep all of their black fighters.
So many words, he felt that he was being deprioritized for fighters like Shakur Stevenson and Shushu Carrington,
Jared Anderson.
Keyshawn Davis, whatever remaining support there might have been for Teofimo Lopez and his struggles, I think he pretty much killed it with that.
He might have.
Yeah, I just can't wait for this fight, Taylor continued, you know. I just think that given his profile and his attitude and what he's achieved in the sport as well, he beat 3-division champion Vasyl Lomachenko. He's a very, very good fighter. I was the 5th person in history to become the undisputed world champion in the 4-belt era, so I've got a lot of accolades to my name as well. He hasn't looked great in his last couple of fights, but I didn't look great in my last fight either. He could say the same thing about me. He is a great fighter. I can't say he isn't. I would be talking nonsense if I said he wasn't a great fighter. Yeah, I think he's a great fighter.
Yeah, when he's got his head on straight.
Josh hit the nail on the head. Ever since dropping that decision to George Kambosos, that shock upset loss, Teofimo's head is a bag of cats. He hasn't been the same guy. That bright young kid that promised to deliver a Vasyl Lomachenko fight promised to end his reign, and he did. He delivered on that promise. It's everything after that.
Where it all went wrong.
Being honest with you, I don't think Teofimo Lopez can handle another loss. I don't think he has the mental fortitude psychologically.
If Josh Taylor lost the fight, at least on paper, it would be the first loss of his career. And Josh is a more maturated fighter, a more maturated guy overall than Teofimo.
If Josh Taylor lost, I think psychologically he'd be able to handle it, but Teofimo, I fear for Teofimo Lopez if he loses.
If Josh Taylor delivers on his promise, and he demoralizes Teofimo Lopez in the ring,
Could be catastrophic. There's too much instability associated with Teofimo.
cross that bridge when we get to it. Upstairs at light heavyweight,
Ahead of his boxer debut tomorrow, Joshua Buatsi says, if the winner of Beterbiev versus Smith is offered to me, I'm not turning it down.
he already turned down Callum Smith.
According to Eddie Hearn, he did. Said they offered him Dimitri Bivol, they offered him Callum Smith, and he turned both those fights down.
So he can get over to Boxer and start making empty promises.
You know, if Artur Beterbiev were to win the fight, The network relationship exists between Top Rank and Sky Sports to where such a fight might be viable if Artur beats Callum Smith and retains those 3 alphabet titles. At least in theory, you could make the fight between Artur and Joshua Buatsi.
If Joshua Buatsi is serious, if he means business. But what if Callum wins?
Callum's still a matchroom fighter, and if Callum pulls the upset, pulls off this miracle, and beats Artur Beterbiev, he'll be this division's unified champion. Joshua Buatsi...
Is he going to cross back over to Matchroom and DAZN for that fight, or is this going to turn into a sides of the street thing?
A shot at the Beterbiev versus Smith winner would give Buatsi the opportunity to capture a lot of gold. It gives me a shot at 3 belts, Buatsi told Sky Sports. If people are not clear about it, if it's offered to me, I'm not going to turn them down. Beterbiev versus Smith will be a good fight. It might be a good time for Smith to take up such a fight, but you can never override Beterbiev. That's a long-reigning champion for a reason, not by chance, not by anything.
Artur Beterbiev satisfied his WBO mandatory challenger in his last fight with Anthony Yard. The next is by way of the WBC.
That's Callum Smith. And if he beats Callum, you know there's another mandatory challenger in the queue, another one. Michael Eifert, by way of the IBF, who very recently fought former champion John Pascal in a final eliminator for mandatory status.
And he won.
Seems to me that if Joshua Buatsi's in the market for the winner of that fight, that's the guy he needs to go see. That's the fight he needs to have. A fight with Michael Eifert.
It's a winnable fight.
I can give an all-time great speech, he continued. It's easier to talk right now and say, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that. It'll be very, very tough fight. Buatsi is trained by Virgil Hunter, who is best known for his work with retired former champions like Andre Ward and Amir Khan. The British Olympian is very satisfied with the ongoing working relationship with Hunter. We have goals to be a world champion, and he knows what it takes because he's been there before. He's taken many fighters there before, so I trust what he's telling me.
You know what I remember? I remember after the Craig Richards fight, Virgil Hunter himself, Virgil, who Joshua Buatsi just mentioned, he said he didn't think Joshua Buatsi was ready for the Bivol fight.
They subsequently turned it down, crossed over to boxer, and what has he done since then?
What's he about to do?
He's about to fight Powell Stipian, who is a far cry from a Dmitry Bivol, and an even farer cry from Artur Beterbiev.
Joshua Buatsi continued.
It has been eye-opening, just his experience and his view on life as well as in general. When he talks, it's like a father figure speaking to you. So I listen, and I listen to a man that's obviously been through a lot and has got a lot of experience.
If Joshua Buatsi makes short work of Powell Stipian tomorrow, the next logical step would be to make an offer to Germany's own Michael Eifert. See about getting that guy in the ring.
Michael Eifert stands about as much chance of beating Artur Beterbiev as Joshua Buatsi, and that's not a good chance at all.
Michael, he's a big, strong kid.
Yeah.
Ain't got big power, though.
He's a stick and move kind of fighter, stick and move kind of guy.
He can box, but he ain't got much punching power.
The way I see it, Joshua Buatsi has to make up for lost time because he hasn't been as active as you'd expect an Olympian to be, somebody with his pedigree. So if he makes short work of Powell Stipian tomorrow...
See about getting Michael Eifert in the ring. Make that guy an offer.
He's not with any of the competing promotional outfits, boxing on any competing platforms, so it should be a fairly easy fight to make for the right price.
Yeah.
While Artur takes care of Callum Smith this summer, you can see about fighting Michael later on.
Perhaps towards the end of the summer, say late August or September, early September.
Be serious about fighting Artur. That would help him get in position to do so.
Yeah, it would. If he's serious.